As promised, we have for you all conversation with Ramel and Timothy, fire substation officers. Yes, man, I've been practicing all week. Every time the truck pass, I say, so him my daughter, Daddy, she's like, Daddy, but what happened now? Since you're doing the fire station program, the fire program, I should say. It's like we hearing the fire truck more often now. Every major guys passing up to yesterday. You know, have you heard you guys passing there? Yeah. You know, but anyways, good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to the program.
Good morning to you, sir.
And welcome to all viewers and all of our listeners as well. This morning we're going to be looking at the different classes, if I can put it that way, of fire. So for those of you who are not familiar with the program, I'm going to let Timothy and Ramel introduce themselves, and then we take it from there. So at least you know the information that you're getting is credible and reliable as well. Yes. So, Timothy, I'm going to start with you. Because, you know, Ramel, I get the impression like, and I'm a little reluctant to talk, but he's a passionate man.
Indeed he is.
Yes.
All right, so good morning, the listening audience. Again, my name is Timothy Martin, and we want to share with you, you know, the classes of fires and what all they entails. You know, we as firefighters, we fight fires on a daily basis. You know, you just said you heard the fire truck wailing a few times, even yesterday. Yeah, and whenever we go to these fire calls, we have to group them or classify them, so to speak. And there are few classes which, you know, we would like to share with you. So if I would start off, there are 5 classes of fire.
Okay.
All right. And I don't know who invented the classes. Maybe they did not finish primary school, but they kind of miss some things in there. And I'll tell you why I said that. So you have class A, class B, class C. The listening audience, could you finish the last two for me? So it's class D, and then he went to class K.
Wow.
So he skipped a few letters in between.
Right,
Yeah,
yes.
so it's class A, B, C, D,
and then K.
Now, the class A is your ordinary combustible materials, such as your wood, paper, cloth, rubber, you know, the solid stuff. But I shouldn't really say the solid stuff because you got other classes that are solid too, but those are your ordinary combustible materials.
Okay.
Then your class B now is your flammable liquids, such as your gasoline, diesel, paint, thinner, alcohol, you know, any liquid, flammable liquids. Class C is electrical fires. So anything that causes a fire due to an electrical means, we put that under class C. So if you have, let's say your AC unit was running and it caught fire, or you have a fan that sometimes persons have fans at home that when you press the on switch, it doesn't come on right away. They got to take their finger and push it through the grill and give it a little flick. I'm quite certain that persons know what I'm talking about. But, you know, something is actually wrong with the fan, electrical wise. And you might turn it on one day, you know, give you a little flick, you know, and you're going outside to do something, whether in the kitchen or whatever. The fan is turning still. And then it stops spinning, but then the motor would be generating still. And that in itself could cause a fire. So that would be of electrical means.
Right, one of them, at least one of them.
Right. The outlets as well, you know, your outlets, maybe water might get in the socket, causing some sort of fire to occur. So class C is electrical fires. Then class D now is not the typical fire that you would see on a regular. That has to do with combustible metals.
Okay.
And I like to tell persons, we as firefighters, we have to deal with with those type of fires. Let's say an aircraft, for example, the type of metal that the aircraft is made up of. When those metals are on fire, we have to be very mindful as to how we attack that fire, because if you just throw water on it just like that, you could have an explosive reaction.
Oh, really?
So we have to know how to fight those fires. So that is where our training, comes into play. And then the last class would be Class K. They had that designed for kitchen fires. Lately, throughout the years, you have had a lot of kitchen fires in, let's say, restaurants, hotels, things like this, where they developed a special extinguisher to deal with that class of fire. So those are the 5 classes of fire that we're looking at today.
Now, apart from knowing how to deal with these classes of fire, is there a data collection method in place to say, well, okay, then we're having this amount of fire, and I guess that's the reason why you'll go and look to see what's the cause of the fire. And then you could say, well, okay, guys, we are seeing an increase in this type of fire. Is that another reason for the classes? So at least you can at least let the public know what's going on, whether it's through radio or, through different groups like churches or other NCOs. Is that another reason for the classes?
Well, we do data collecting. As you see, Mr. Williams, he goes through that data that we have. So it's not just the bushfires, and we collect all aspect of the various classes of fire that is burning. So we have a category, so let's say for house. Houses are typically fall under Class A fires. And
so you would not expect a certain type of fire to be in a house. So you'll go prepared for a house fire. And if you meet otherwise, then you'll be surprised.
In preparation of a house fire, we normally contact the electricity department to have them turn off the electricity. We have ways and means of fighting a fire that is electrical. We don't want to share those type of techniques, because then it could put somebody in danger.
I understand.
But we know how to fight that fire based on our training and things like that. However, the safe way to go is to have the electricity department come in and cut the power to that resident. Then it would just be an ordinary fire for us.
Right.
Right.
Yes. So sorry.
Yeah,
so to add to the question that you asked, one of the other reasons for the classes is so that you could look at the end of the day. You could look at your data, see where you would have an increase or decrease in whatever area, so you could focus more of your fire prevention efforts around this particular class, because you realize that there is an increase over the years. There's a continuous increase in that particular class, opposed to just having, okay, we had 120 fires, but there's no separation. You don't have clear statistics to state, okay, well, you had 120, but how many of those was house? How many was bush fires? So out of that 120, if 100 was house fires, you need to focus your efforts on decreasing those house fires. So once you have that statistics, and you have them clearly laid out, you could look at your stats and say, okay, well, we need to focus more energy on this area, because we realize that this is going up while this is going down. So we could try and focus less on this one and focus more on this. But once you don't have the clear statistics, it makes your work much more difficult. As it relates to what Mr. Martin would have spoke about in relation to the fire classes. Now here in St. Kitts we use 5 classes. Of course there are a few letters missing in between, of course. And I don't know why. We came and met it that way. But in other spheres, in other countries, they may have some of those letters that's missing. They may actually utilize those, but of course they may also take out 1 or 2 of that what we use. So anywhere you'll find that some letters are missing, right? But what's missing?
It's all a part of the code.
Right. So
The
what's
area.
missing for us? We might not have a class E, a F, a G, a H, an I, a J. But you may travel to Europe and realize that Europe have an F, has an F, but they don't have a C. So anywhere you go, you might find letters missing.
Right.
But for us in our locality, we use just the A, B, C, D. Skip all those nice letters and go down to K. Right?
Which is
So-
more appropriate for our region.
Yes.
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 I get what you're saying now. So it depends on the region that you're in. That will your data collected will determine your letters. If I can put it that way.
Well, I can't say yes, I can't say no, because I really wouldn't know the reason why England uses F.
That's what you're saying.
F now might symbolize flammable fires.
Mm-hmm.
They use the F because flammable begins with F. So F might symbolize flammable fires, just like how K, kitchen, represents kitchen fires. They may choose to use a letter because it is closely linked to the name or the type of fire, right? And so that's where you might find a different lettering and so forth, because for us flammable liquid is B.
Okay.
Right, it's a B.
Okay.
And for another country might be a F, but the fuels that are involved in both classes, they are the same.
Right.
They're just classed with a different letter.
Right. I get what you're saying now. So let's not confuse the audience. Let's keep it here in
Yes.
in
St. Kitts,
St.
A,
Kitts.
B, C, D,
A,
K.
B, C, D, K.
All right. You stress St. Kitts, not the Caribbean.
The Caribbean.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure I'm
Yes,
clear on that.
yes.
All right. So we have all different classes. Mr. Martin
One of the same.
made an example of an aircraft in terms of the metal.
Yeah.
And he was saying that, you guys are trained to deal with that aspect of just in case that happens, worst case scenario.
Yes.
For me, how often do that happen, and how often do you practice that method or keep that method in mind? Because let's just be real. If you studied that 4 years ago, and 4 years after you have an incident, the chances of you remembering what to do is going to be very slim. And the fact that we don't go through those things all the time, long story short, even though you don't experience certain things, do you still train for them? That's long story short.
Well,
Yes, we still have to train. You have your theoreticals, you have your manuals, you have your textbooks, whatever it is, and we train from those textbooks. And like you mentioned, because we are such a blessed country, right? Because we don't, plane crashes is not something that
Frequent.
it is not frequent. Thank you, Lord. And so, in the absence of those particular type of metals, we have to now rely on the manual, what the manual says, how you deal with this type of metal, and also the other means, other resources like internet, videos. We have the world right on our office desk. So we really have no reason to say, well, I don't know how to deal with this when you have that on your desk.
Right.
It's very easy to go on.
So it's upon you now to keep yourself.
Yes, and being in the position that we are, we have to make sure that our staff is kept up to par with abreast of the change in technologies, the information change from time to time. Because these new aircraft now, they might be designed with something else, or maybe something else is added into the material that we were not aware of. So we have to be now knowledgeable of these changes. So as the textbook change, information, while the basic information might remain the same, there are additions. Something might be added that we need to know, because these aircraft, they're changing daily. They're changing daily, so we have to keep up to date all the time. And why Mr. Martin mentioned that, because the thing about combustible metals, if you just take a bucket of water and dump it on it, he mentioned that you may have an explosive reaction because the metal is trying to cool too fast. Instead of cooling, it explodes. So there are techniques now, because you still have to extinguish the fire, but there are techniques and there are different extinguishing agents now that you have to use in extinguishing that type of fire. You can't just, in most cases, you can't just use water, right? You may have to use a powder, or maybe a foam, or you may have to use water, yes, but in a particular technique or a particular form, pattern. You know, we have different patterns that you could use. Coming from the nozzle, you have a solid stream, you have broken stream, you have fog streams. So you know, we'd have to know which one is more appropriate for that particular metal.
If water is needed.
If water is needed. Yeah.
I'm going to let you continue, gentlemen, but before we do so, last week we didn't open the lines. And one of our callers reminded me of that. He said, boy, I would really love to get in on the program. So the lines are open, 465-2555, 718-577-2916 for those of you who are overseas who would like to be involved in the conversation as well. All right, so back over to you, Timothy.
Yeah, I was going to say at that the airport, they more or less have a different style of training as well, because of the uniqueness of what they do. Their way of training is slightly different to what we would say the municipal way, right? So it's two separate things we have to bear in mind as fire officers. One, the municipal aspect, and two, the aerodrome aspect.
All terms I'm not familiar with, but I understand what you're saying.
You could just say the municipal is the Bastille, Sandy Point, Tabernacle.
Okay.
Aerodrome.
Airport.
Right.
Put on your headphones, gentlemen. Let's take this call. Hi, good morning, and you're live.
Good morning to you, GQ, and your guest there.
Yes, go ahead.
Question. In relation to the classes of fire, can a fire start at one class, and by the time the fire is extinguished, it ends up at another class?
Of course.
All right.
Thank you for your question, Gala.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so in reference to what the caller asks, now you can have an electrical fire. Electricity is the cause of the fire. But from the moment you eliminate the electrical component of it, then the class shifts into another category. So you can now have, let's say, a class A fire. So as long as the electrical component is eliminated, it automatically goes over into another class now.
If the fire is still continuing.
Yes.
Okay, that's what you're saying. So maybe the electrical aspect of it might have started the fire.
Right.
But then
From the moment you turn off the electricity. And in saying that, I want to encourage everyone to at least know where your main switches are at home. That's very important, because I've come across some persons who they don't know where it is, or they don't know how to turn it off. They have never They have never attempted to turn off the electricity. And that is very important, because you might have a child at home who is being electrocuted, and you
have to save the person.
You have to save that child.
Hi, good morning, you're live.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing today?
Hey, not bad at all.
Is this program discussion of fire from the fire services?
Yes, it is.
Oh, man. Good. I want to get in just a bit, one minute or two.
Sure, go ahead.
Good morning to you all, gentlemen. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good. I am very much interested of these things that I do know I have very good knowledge of. I am a trained firefighter.
All right,
Is there
nice.
a particular height of fire extinguishers be mounted? That's one. I will listen off the ear.
Can you repeat the question?
Two, the other one, just one last. Two, I believe every property, every asset establishment, every business operation should have people trained in fire protection. I personally feel so. And if there's an emergency exit, why do they have that gate of the emergency exit, which which is a wrought iron gate, a burglar bar with a lock on it. Those three things. Have a good day, gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Before you go, can you repeat the first one?
Yeah,
The height of the fire extinguisher.
Oh, the height of the first. You heard it. Okay.
Yes, yes.
From in putting it in place.
Okay, so
Yeah, go ahead.
yes, caller. Thank you for the question. In relation to the first question, according to the NFPA standards 10, that is the National Fire Prevention Association, as it relates to fire extinguishers, the height that they should be mounted, they vary depending on the weight of the weight, the size, and so forth of the fire extinguisher. But it is recommended that a fire extinguisher should not be mounted. The top of the extinguisher should not be mounted more than 5 feet, from the ground, and the bottom of the extinguisher should not fall within 4 inches from the ground. So the bottom of the extinguisher must be more than 4 inches off the ground. However, the top of the extinguisher should not pass 5 feet. When we do our fire prevention inspections and training, we always recommend that the fire extinguisher be placed at least waist height. So in lifting it, you're basically lifting from your waist, you lift off and you come down. Instead of having to pass your shoulder to lift up and take that extinguisher down. So, and then the way you have a CO2, which is much heavier than the regular ABC, you wouldn't want to have something with that weight mounted so high. So we recommend about 3 to 2.5 feet. The top of the fire extinguisher mounted about 2.5 feet off the ground. All right?
That's one.
Yes.
The second one?
Emergency exits.
Yeah, the emergency exits.
Okay, so
okay, with the emergency exits, yeah, Carla, you would have asked why it's an emergency exit, yet whatever the gate is made from, it's an emergency exit, yet it has a lock on it, and the lock is locked.
okay.
So once it's an emergency exit, especially if it's a place where you have persons there daily, that door should be unlocked, or even if it is locked, there must be someone on hand all the time to open that gate in the event that it is needed. But during working hours, emergency exits should be open. Even if the lock is in the gate, the lock should be unlocked, so that there'd be no hindrances during an evacuation of any type.
So during working hours, it should be unlocked.
Yes.
Yes, should. If not unlocked, as you said, the key should be very handy.
Right, close by.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to be digging in a drawer or some sort to find the key, or the person with the key gone for lunch or something like that. You should be on hand.
All right, let's take this call. Good morning, you're live.
I just want to inform that officer. I'm going to call. I need to speak to him about a few concerns that I see regularly. I am very much a big observer of things. What's his name? I need to call and speak to him about a lot of things that I see I need to address. Not at the station, at work.
Okay. You could call
Yes.
465-4339, and you could either ask for Timothy Martin or Romel Williams.
I certainly will, sir. You have a good day. Thank you
Yes,
very
as
much.
well.
Bye-bye.
All right. I think that's it. There was a third question he asked.
He asked a third, but I didn't quite get it.
Okay. Good morning, you're live, and we apologize for that. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
In relation to our emergency exit, in my opinion, I don't feel that there should be any lock placed in any emergency exit at any time. What I think should be recommended is what is known as a panic door. It's a panic door. Once the door has to be kept closed at all times. The panic door is what I suggest that they should recommend to individuals who have to keep that door closed. With the panic door, it has what is known as a panic bar, and they can explain the rest.
Okay. All right. Gentlemen, the ball is in your court.
The caller, he's correct in terms of the use of a panic bar. Now, what we have to recognize that for some persons, they might not be able to acquire a door as we speak. So, in light of that, we recommend additional ways and means so that in keeping their business secure, because based on the type of institution, some institutions might be heavily secured than others. So based on the institution, we just give them recommendations as to, in the interim, because that is something that we always recommend persons having a panic bar, a door in place. But in the interim, in terms of getting the persons who work there and customers, getting them out safely, here are some of the things that they can do to ensure that they get out of the space in a timely manner.
Mm-hmm.
And having the key, if it's a locked door, readily available is one of the recommendations that we would give to those institutions.
All right. So based on what you're saying, you're going to assess the business and give the best option available.
Right. Like I said, everybody can come up with getting stuff replaced right away.
Right.
So we have to come up with a bit of a in between sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
A balance.
Yes.
Because not because you how can I put it? You want to save life, you still have to save your business as well.
Exactly.
Right? So, and we're not wishing that you have a break in every 2 weeks or a fire every 3 months,
Right.
So, but at the same time, you have to survive. You were going to say something?
Yes, I was
Mr.
just
Williams?
going to, for persons who might not be familiar with what a panic door, a door with a panic handle is, it's a door that can only be opened from the inside.
Okay.
So it could be unlocked all the time. Once you're outside, you can't get back in because there's no way to get back inside. But there's a huge handle on the inside of the door. You just push and you go out. So that's what they call it, panic handle. So you're exiting the building, you push and you just go out, but you would not be able to get back inside the building.
And with these panic bars, they could be linked to your fire alarm. So whenever the alarm goes off, it automatically
Opens
releases the door. And some of these, well, not panic bar doors, but you have regular doors with these magnetic locks. Whenever if they are linked into your alarm system, whenever the alarm goes off, a signal goes to the door to say, hey, something is wrong inside the building, and it disconnects the magnetic lock, so you could actually just open the door just like that. So it's not every institution need that panic bar, but if you have a magnetic lock and it could be installed into your system, then that works as well.
I understand what you're saying. Gentlemen, we are out of time, though.
Already?
Yeah, we're out of time. For those of you who just turned on your radio, I'm going to let Mr. Williams or Mr. Martin go over the different classes of fire. But before we do so, I'm going to take our final call for the morning. You're live. Yes, good morning. You're live.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to
Good
all.
morning. Good morning.
Wonderful program. The panic door sounds good. I like to hear about that one. If you have, when you have, okay. One time I was about 10 years ago. I was fixing my room and I changed around and I plugged the radio, one of the clients into the wrong current, and then a lot of smoke up in the air. But even I know that you're not supposed to out electrical fire with water. I went into panic mode, and I was about to grab a cup of water and try it in. But I don't even know what I did. But, people need to be enlightened about these things. Because, as I say, we go all well to say, but then when it happens, it's a spur of the moment, and you just go into panic mode and then you just do wrong things.
You are so right.
You know, so people need knowledge.
Yes,
Knowledge is power. You know?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful program. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. And
Yes.
thanks for sharing that experience.
Man, look, she's not the only one, Every time you hear fire, first thing come to your mind is water.
Water.
Indeed, yes. Yes,
Water.
yes.
And we as the average individual or person, we don't stop and go, okay, that's a chemical fire, or that's a electrical fire, or that's a gas fire, or whatever the case may be. We just fire, water.
Maybe the next program we could touch base is dealing with kitchen fires, because you have oil, and if you throw water, and what could happen if you throw water on an oil fire, for example. Yeah, maybe that could be our next time.
Okay, well, yeah. But we're out of time, though, so we'll have to plan for that properly next time.
Of course.
But in closing, though, I'll give you enough time for you to go over the different classes, so at least people can be aware of. And maybe in your outro, you can say, well, okay, for this class, this is how you out that fire, and so forth and so forth. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so Class A, you have, it comprises of wood, paper, cloth, rubber, and the best extinguishing media to use for that fire is water. Then you have Class B, which is your flammable liquid, gasoline, diesel, paint, thinner, alcohol. The best extinguishing media to use for that class is carbon dioxide, dry chemical, which is an ABC multiple extinguisher, multi-purpose extinguisher. Class C.
Wait, hold on, before you go to Class C. So, can you use dirt to out the fire in Class B?
You
can, but then it's the volume of dirt you would need.
Well,
to
it all depends on the
how
size
you
of the
apply
fire.
it as well.
The size of the fire. Right? If it's a small fire, you have a bucket of dirt and a bucket of sand, and that's all you have. Make sure you apply it properly so you have a good cover to eliminate the oxygen, so that no oxygen will be able to get inside. So you will have an extinguishment once oxygen is eliminated.
Okay. All right. Class C, go ahead.
Yeah, Class C, as we said, it was electrical fire, and the best extinguishing agent you could use is a carbon dioxide, CO2, or a multi-purpose extinguisher. In the absence, you turn off the electricity, make sure the electricity is off, and then you could apply water to that fire.
Also, if you're in an establishment where you have a lot of electrical equipment, computers, servers, printers, what have you, we recommend that you use the CO2. One, because it is non-corrosive and it does not damage your equipment, whereas the other type, like the ABC, might cause some
corrosion.
Yes.
So in areas like that, like big establishments that have huge server rooms, a lot of computers, we recommend the CO2.
Right, because you might use something else and stop the fire, but then cause another problem.
Cause
Right.
a lot of damage.
Right.
But the
If
CO2, the CO2 is a gas, and all it does is it extinguishes the fire and it dissipates. It doesn't dry up, it doesn't stay on the system, it doesn't cause any corrosion.
Right.
So that's the safest one to use for that type.
Okay.
Class D now, combustible metals, titanium, lithium, sodium, a lot of you use, you got special salt-based powders, dry chemical to extinguish those type. Class K, which is your kitchen fires, that deals with oil, fats, grease. There's a special extinguisher that is designed just for the kitchen, which is a Class K extinguisher.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
so ain't any extinguisher will work there?
Nope.
Wow.
The CO2 and the dry chemical, which is the multi-purpose extinguisher, it can be used. However, they just designed an extinguisher specifically for the kitchen. So if I was to, let's say, recommend something for your home, your house have a kitchen, but I would not tell you to get a Class K extinguisher for your kitchen and another extinguisher for the other parts of the home.
Right,
I would tell you to get a multi-purpose extinguisher that can cover all areas. However, if you have a restaurant, for example, Now I would recommend a class K extinguisher just for the restaurant kitchen.
Do you guys sell these stuff, or how do people get these things?
We don't sell. At the fire department, we only inspect and recommend.
Okay.
Yeah, you would have to purchase those from Carib Supply. That's up at the industrial site,
Right.
In the area of the fisheries. That's where you go to purchase the fire extinguishers.
Okay.
And while we're on class K fires, what I want us to, we mentioned it, but I want to reiterate that point. Do not throw water on an oil fire. And when I say oil, I mean like cooking oils, right? Grease and fats. Do not throw water on a kitchen oil fire. It will have an explosive reaction.
It
So,
raises the fire about 10 times
10
greater,
times the normal size.
and the heat will intensify.
So, in saying that, the easiest way, if you're cooking and fire gets into the frying pan, just take a cover it, and you're done. Don't throw any water on it.
Get the oxygen out.
Right. Or if you can take, if it's not a big enough fire, you can take the pan and take it outside. Or you cover it and take it outside. But do not throw water on that fire.
You can say, don't ever
ever throw water on that fire.
You can say it. I felt it coming.
Yeah. That's right. Yes.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you for being here and enlightening not just me, but our audience and around the world, whoever is listening right now to this program. Look forward to this conversation every Tuesday morning. If it's your first time listening, we do welcome you back to the program next week, same time, same place. It starts at 9:30, just in case you tuned in late and you're not familiar with the starting point of the program. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Any passing words, or that's it?
Pleasure, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. We already went over it.
Just wish you guys a blessed day and productivity and what's not. Blessings.
Yes, man, indeed. Yeah. I don't touch that down, man. We'll be back with more for you. We have our bulletin board coming up at the bottom of the hour.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies, and more.